So this is another anime English versus Japanese titles. If you didn't see the last video, I talked about comparing the Japanese titles of anime, translating them literally, and seeing how those translations compare to the official English versions of the titles. Last video we talked about My Hero Academia, Demon Slayer, Kaguya-sama, Food Wars, a bunch of pretty popular anime. Today we're going to be talking about Ghibli movies specifically. So in the last video I tried to explain the Japanese particles in each title. This time I don't really want to focus on that. So if you do want to know the Japanese particles, here they are on the screen, how you pronounce them and what they do or what they mean. So let's start off with the first matchup, which is風の谷のナウシカversus Nausicaa of the Valley of the Wind. So here's the original Japanese title. So Kaze means wind, Tani means valley, Nausicaa refers to the main character, Nausicaa. It's based off of the actually character from Greek mythology, Nausicaa. Basically, we can translate Kaze no Tani no Nausicaa as the winds, valleys, Nausicaa, which doesn't sound very good. So why don't we flip that around and call it Nausicaa of the Valley of Wind. The English version is Nausicaa of the Valley of the Wind. So they've got it pretty on point. But unfortunately, the English title does not have a catchy theme song to go with it. So I'm going to give the point to the Japanese. Tenku no Shiro Rapita versus Castle in the Sky. So here's the original Japanese title. Tenku means sky, Shiro means castle, and Laputa means Laputa. And Laputa is actually based off the island of the same name in the book Gulliver's Travels. So we can translate Tenku no Shiro Laputa as Sky Castle Laputa or Castle in the Sky Laputa. Now the English title is just Castle in the Sky. Where'd the Laputa go? Well, the way Laputa is spelled out kind of looks like a Spanish word, but I do think Laputa is important. They could have spelled it a different way in the English title, doesn't matter, but I think having the name of the castle in the title is important, and they say it throughout the film anyway, so I'm going to give it to the Japanese again. Hotaru no Haka versus Grave of the Fireflies. Hotaru means firefly, and Haka means grave. But that's actually not how you typically spell the word Hotaru. This is how you write Hotaru. So what are these? Well, Ho means fire, Taru means to drop. It's meant to call to mind firebombing, as in the firebombing over Japan, over Kobe during World War II, which is when and where this film takes place. Pretty clever, right? So we can translate this as firefly grave, grave of fireflies, or even firebomb graves. The English title is simply Grave of the Fireflies, which is fine, but it is missing that double meaning. So I'm going to give it to the Japanese once again. Tonari no Totoro versus My Neighbor Totoro. Tonari means next door, as in next door neighbor. It can also mean next to, as in like right next to or beside. And Totoro is obviously the name of the character. So we can translate this as next door Totoro or even Totoro beside me. The English title is My Neighbor Totoro, which I think is actually a pretty creative way to translate Tonari. It sounds nice, it sounds friendly, and it's catchy. My Neighbor Totoro. So I'm going to give this point English. Majo no Takyubin versus Kiki's Delivery Service. Majo means witch. Takyubin means delivery service. So, which delivery service or which courier service? The English title is Kiki's Delivery Service, which obviously is a better title. It has the character's name in it. So, English gets the point. Omoide Poro Poro versus Only Yesterday. Omoide means memory. Poro Poro means in large drops. So I guess you would translate this as memories in large drops. This one was actually kind of difficult for me to translate. Memories one by one. Basically, the idea of the story is that it's this woman who can't help but keep being reminded of things that happened in her childhood. So she gets all these random memories flowing back to her over the course of the film. The English title is simply Only Yesterday. which also gets across the meaning of having memories that are so fresh in your mind that they feel like they happened only yesterday, I guess. Ultimately, I think the Japanese title captures more the spirit of the film. So I'm going to give it to the Japanese. Kurenai no Buta versus Porco Rosso. Kurenai means crimson, or like a deep red, and Buta means pig. So we can translate this as crimson pig or red pig, but the English decided to call it Porco Rosso, which is actually the Italian translation. But it's also the name of the main character. The main character's name is Porco Rosso. So I think this is great. English gets the point. Umi ga kikoeru versus ocean waves. Umi means ocean, kikoeru means to be audible. So you can translate this to the ocean can be heard, or even I can hear the ocean. Now, I don't really know what this title even means. The English title is just Ocean Waves, which is even less descriptive. I have no idea what this has to do with like the theme of the movie, but whatever. I think the original Japanese title is better. Heisei Tanuki Gassen Pom Poko versus Pom Poko. Heisei refers to the Japanese Heisei era. Tanuki is the name of the Japanese raccoon dog animal. Gassen just means battle. And Pom Poko is an onomatopoeia that means like the sound of drums, or like the beating of drums. So I went a little bit creative with this translation and called it Heisei Tanuki Battle Bum da Bum. But maybe we can just keep the Japanese onomatopoeia and call it Heisei Tanuki Battle Pom Poko. The English title is simply Pom Poko. So they use an M instead of an N. Same thing, doesn't matter. But I don't really like this title. I think it's simple, but it doesn't really mean anything in English, but the Japanese title is very descriptive. So I'm going to have to give it to the Japanese title. Mimi o Sumaseba versus Whisper of the Heart. Mimi means ear, sumasa means to make clear, and ba means if. But I actually kind of tricked you guys, because Mimi o Sumasa is actually just a self-contained phrase, like an expression that means to listen carefully. So we can translate this to if you listen carefully, or if you listen close. English title is Whisper of the Heart. Very different, but I guess it kind of completes the sentence. If you listen closely, what you will hear is the whisper of your heart. I actually like the English title, even though it's so different, because it feels like it captures the theme of the movie more, which is following your dreams, following your intuition, so listening to the whisper of your heart. From my perspective, I think Whisper of the Heart captures the theme of the movie a little bit more, so I'm going to give it to the English title. Mononoke Hime versus Princess Mononoke. So Mononoke is a word for like Japanese folk spirit. I believe it's like a specific type of spirit in Japanese mythology. And Hime just means princess. We can translate this as princess spirit, but that doesn't sound very cool. I think we can just leave Mononoke as it's by itself. I think it sounds cool. So let's just call it Princess Mononoke, which is what the English title is. This is kind of a toss-up because they're basically the same title. I'm gonna have to give it to Mononoke Hime. I think that rolls off the tongue a little bit better, I think. So there we go. This is a weird one. Ho Hokekyo, Tonari no Yamada-kun versus My Neighbors, the Yamadas. The first part, Ho Hokekyo, an onomatopoeia. It's the sound that a Japanese bush warbler bird makes. Tonari, we've heard from Tonari no Totoro. We can translate that as next to or next door. They translate it as my neighbor, right? In My Neighbor Totoro. And Yamada-kun refers to the character Yamada-kun. So we can translate this as tweet, my neighbor Yamada-kun, or chirp, Yamada-kun next door, something like that. But the English title is simply My Neighbors, the Yamadas. First of all, they were consistent with translating Tonari to my neighbor, which is great. But they changed Yamada-kun to the Yamadas, referring to Yamada-kun's entire family. I'm not sure why they did that. I mean, there is that anime Yamada-kun and the Seven Witches, but I'm pretty sure that came out long after this was released in the US. So I don't know why they changed that. But to be honest, I actually like that they changed it because the film really is about the entire family. It's not just about Yamada-kun. My Neighbor Yamada's is simple, and I think it's more accurate to the film. So I'm going to give it to the English title. Next up we got Sen to Chihiro no Kami Kakushi versus Spirited Away. Sen refers to the main character, Sen. Chihiro refers to the main character, Chihiro, before she lost her name. And Kami Kakushi means being spirited away. So we can translate this to Sen and the spiriting away of Chihiro, or Sen and the disappearance of Chihiro. The English title is simply Spirited Away. So this is a tough one. I think both titles are really cool. I like the Japanese title, how it kind of separates Sen and Chihiro as if they were different characters. But I'm gonna give it to the English because I'm really used to the English title. Neko no Ongaeshi versus The Cat Returns. Neko means cat, Ongaeshi means the requital of a favor. So we can translate this to cat's requital or even the cat returns the favor. What this title is referring to is when the main character Haru saves this cat from being run over by a truck or something. It turns out that the cat is actually like this cat prince from like this cat kingdom. And so he returns the favor of her saving him by offering his hand in marriage. The English title is The Cat Returns, which is interesting because it seems like it's referring to the Baron, who was in this movie and who previously appeared in Whisper of the Heart. So technically he's returning, he's the cat who returns, but this movie doesn't really have anything to do with Whisper of the Heart. No characters besides the Baron cross over. The storylines don't cross over. They take place in basically different universes. I don't know. I think the English title is a little misleading and kind of misses the point. It's not that there's a cat in the movie who returns as in comes back. It's a cat who's returning the favor for something. I think the key cat in the movie is the prince cat, not the Baron. So I'm going to give it to the Japanese title. Haoru no Ugoku Shiro versus Howl's Moving Castle. So Haoru means howls, it refers to the main character, and Ugoku means to move, Shiro means castle. So we can translate this to Howl's Castle That Moves, or probably even better, Howl's Moving Castle, which is exactly what they went with for the English, the official English title. I think that's great. I think Howl's Moving Castle is catchy. It sounds cool. It is technically the original title of the novel it's based off of, so that works. I'm going to give it to the English title. Gero Senki versus Tales from Earthsea. Gero or Ged refers to one of the characters in the movie, and Senki is a war chronicle or like a war journal. So we can translate this to Ged War Chronicle or Ged Record of War. The English title is Tales from Earthsea, which I believe is the title of the original book series that this movie is based off of. So I'm leaning towards the English title, especially because who's Ged? I guess he's like the wizard dude, but that's not the main character. Why is he in the title? I don't remember if the movie's like told from his perspective. That might be the case. I think Tales from Earthsea fits better. Gake no ue no Ponyo versus Ponyo. Gake means cliff, ue means above, and Ponyo is the main character's name. You can translate this to Ponyo above the cliff, or even Ponyo over the cliff. The English title is simply Ponyo. It's pretty simple. I like it. It sounds like the name of the character as well. And yeah, it's just simple. I think the English title should win this round. Karigurashi no Arietti versus The Secret World of Arietti. Kari or kariru means borrowing. Gurashi means life or livelihood. And Arietti or Arietti is again the main character's name. So we can translate this to living by borrowing, Arietti, or even Arietti the Borrower. And actually the original novel is called The Borrower, so I think that works. The English title is The Secret World of Ariete. I don't know where Secret World came from. I think sticking to the original novel's title is the better way to go. Kokuriko Zaka Kara versus From Up on Poppy Hill. Kokuriko means red poppy or kokeliko, and Zaka means hill, Kara means from, so we can translate this to from Kokeliko Hill or from Poppy Hill. The official English title is From Up on Poppy Hill. So I added a couple extra words in there, which I think give the English title a pretty good ring to it. I'm going to give it to the English title this time. Kaze Tachinu versus The Wind Rises. Kaze means wind, Tachinu means to rise or has risen. So we can translate this as wind has risen or wind rises. Now the English title is The Wind Rises. That totally works. They're basically the same title, but I do like the more classical Japanese sound of the original Japanese. It's also a little bit more catchy. Kaze Tachinu versus The Wind Rises. I'm going to give it the Japanese title. Kaguya Hime no Monogatari versus The Tale of the Princess Kaguya. Kaguya is the main character, Kaguya. Hime means princess, like Mononoke Hime, and Monogatari means tale. So we can translate this to Princess Kaguya's Tale or The Tale of Princess Kaguya. The English title is actually The Tale of the Princess Kaguya. I don't really know why it's adding an extra the, and honestly that kind of bothers me, so I'm going to give it to the Japanese title. Omoide no Mani versus When Marnie Was There. Omoide means memory, Mani is the main character, Marnie. So we can translate this to memory, Marnie, or maybe more clearly, the Marnie of my memories. The English title is When Marnie Was There. So this is a little different because I think in this case they're actually putting the emphasis not on Marnie, but on the time. It's when Marnie was there versus the Marnie of my memories. I think what's most important here is the character Marnie. So I'm going to give it to the Marnie of my memories, the Japanese title. And Japanese takes it, and technically that was the last Ghibli film ever released. But so we're going to actually have a bonus round because Ghibli is releasing a new film this year. Aya to Majo versus Earwig and the Witch. So there's no official English translation of this film out yet because the film hasn't even come out in Japan yet. But I believe G-Kids or somebody licensed it and they titled it Earwig and the Witch. Here's the Japanese title, Aya to Majo. Aya means, it's the main character's name, I think. And Majo means witch, as in from Majo no Takyubin. So we can translate this as Aya and the Witch, or Aya with the Witch. The official English title so far, unless they change it later down the line, is Earwig and the Witch. And yeah, I think sticking with the original title is always good. And Earwig and the Witch just sounds really unique compared to Aya and the Witch. I'm going to give it to the English title. That's it. That was the final round. Japanese title still wins it even though English won the last round. 12 points to 11 points, so pretty close. Anyway, that's it for me. Thank you guys so much for watching. Whatever you plan on doing once this video ends, remember to have fun. Okay, for those of you who stuck around, I want to talk about one more Ghibli film. This is a film that hasn't come out yet and is planned to come out, I believe, in 2022 or 2023. It's Hayao Miyazaki's latest film. It's called Kimi Tachi wa Dou Ikiru ka. A lot of people are translating that as How Do You Live? But let's take a look at the Japanese title ourselves. So Kimi means you, Tachi is a pluralizer, Dou means how, Ikiru means to live, Ka is the verbal question mark. So we can translate this to mean how do you all live, as in addressing multiple people, or just how do you live. So I think, yeah, the English title, How Do You Live, is a pretty accurate translation. But we'll see what the final title of the film will be called, finally, once it's finished. And we'll see what the official English title will be once that's released. Anyway, that's it. Bye.